So like most gamers, I started gaming at a young age. My grandmother came to visit and she brought over a used GameCube with a handful of games that I assume she randomly picked up at the store because she knows nothing about video games. Luckily for me, she don't miss, as the games she brought were Super Smash Bros. Melee, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Super Monkey Ball 2, and the game of the day, Sonic Riders. I've had so much fun with all of these games. Hell, I've even replayed the first 3 over the last few years, and for the most part they all hold up very well. Sonic Riders, on the other hand, is something I wasn't sure about revisiting up until now. Not because I dislike it or anything, I love it. Or at least I remember loving it. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of Sonic games are... yeah. I guess I just didn't want to play it only to realize that one of my favorite childhood games is hot garbage. But today is different. I bought a PS2 copy of Sonic Riders, popped that bad boy into my computer, and started up the story mode. The plot is ridiculous, even for a Sonic game. It starts with Sonic and friends tracking down one of the Chaos Emeralds until they run into a pack of thieves called the Babylon Rogues, who are just a flock of birds on hoverboards. Jet, Wave, and Storm are the names, and stealing shit is the game. Sonic gets a hold of one of their hoverboards, which are called Extreme Gear, and tries to retrieve the Chaos Emerald they stole. But unfortunately, these birds are way too fast, and they get away while destroying Sonic's ego in the process. Faster than Sonic? Nobody can be faster than Sonic. Sonic's the blue blur. He's the fastest thing in the world. Who could be faster than Sonic? Not some bird on a hoverboard. That doesn't make sense to me. Ugh. Later on, Eggman comes out of nowhere to announce a World Grand Prix, which is not just a race, but a special race to see who's the fastest. He goes on to say that in order to enter the race, a contestant must give up a Chaos Emerald. Now, this is all really fishy, and Sonic and friends know it too. But then Eggman shows who else will be participating in the race, and of course, the Babylon Rogues are going to be there. Apparently, this is enough to convince Sonic to join the race. Which is bizarre because in every other Sonic game I've played, Sonic is actively trying to keep the emeralds away from Eggman. But in Sonic Riders, he flat out gives an emerald to him within the first 5 minutes. Oh, he's most likely plotting world domination or something like that, but I'm gonna help him anyway because I need to prove to a fucking bird that I'm the fastest thing on Earth. I just feel so bad for Tails. He has to go along with whatever this doof wants to do. The Grand Prix begins with races taking place at different locations around the world. Between these races, the contestants spend their free time practicing tricks, murdering unsuspecting Eggbots, and planting bombs on other contestants' gear. You know, the usual. Soon the final race comes and everyone willingly gives up their Chaos Emeralds to Eggman for reasons I still cannot comprehend. Just before crossing the line, Sonic gets blown up, giving Jet enough time to take first place. That's an asshole move if you ask me. Jet takes his blue cube over to the emeralds and erects a floating island from the sand. Oh no, Eggman stole the cube and is going towards the island. That's also an asshole move. It's almost like this Grand Prix only exists to trick dumbasses into giving up their Chaos Emeralds. Who would have thunk? Anyway, this island is Babylon Garden and is home to a mystical treasure that Eggman is after. Sonic and friends kill a genie to get to it, only to be robbed at gunpoint by Eggman. And then he's pissed off because it ends up being a magic carpet. Team Sonic becomes friends with the Babylon Rogues. The end. That's it? Okay, I guess. As a whole, this story is just a giant wet noodle and the game really could have done without it. I mean, I understand you have to contextualize these new characters, who they are, what they do, their goals and ambitions, but seeing how much information about them you get in the story mode, they could have easily fit that onto character info screens or something like that. Is that even what they're called? The stuff in fighting games that tell you about the character, you know what I'm talking about. Though I feel like the story is unnecessary for the most part, I do really enjoy the cutscenes. They look very good compared to other Sonic games at the time. No wonky animations like Sonic Adventure, and none of this.
You never cease to surprise me, Blue Hedgehog. I thought that capsule you were in exploded in space.
You know, what can I say? I die hard. You actually saved me, you know.
It was a Chaos Emerald, wasn't it? But there's no way you could have activated the Chaos Control using an emerald that's fake. So, there's more to you than just looking like it. What are you, anyway?
Sonic Riders is similar to your average kart racer, minus the karts. You try to get in first place and stay there on a variety of tracks that are all almost gimmicky in a way, filled with shortcuts and secrets that you learn just through playing the game and experimenting. I feel like I must complain about the track list for a bit. When you start a new game, there are 5 playable tracks, and you can unlock 9 more after finishing the story mode. Then there are 2 more tracks you get by getting in first place in every race in both Grand Prix Cups. This leaves you with a total of 16, which is an okay amount of tracks in my opinion. But where this becomes a problem is that after the first 8 tracks, the rest are just alternate versions. The original track is Metal City. Well, how about we make it nighttime and call this Night Chase? Boom, new track. In a few cases, these tracks feel like a totally different place, but in most, it just feels like a lazy attempt to add to the track list. The track itself changes, but the surroundings look and have the same vibe as the original track, and it's definitely not my favorite thing in the world. There are a bunch of characters to choose from, each with their own stats and type. Their type determines which shortcuts they can use in the race and influences their base stats. Speed types can grind on floaty rail things. Flying types can miss the hoops and fall to their deaths. Or fly. I haven't quite figured out that one yet. And power types can punch things. Every track has at least one shortcut for every type, though they will often cater to just one type. Green Cave is definitely easier for flying types. Their shortcuts in that track are way better than the speed and power shortcuts. Shortcuts also replenish your air, which you can think of as your fuel. You have an air tank and you need to keep it up by doing tricks, finding shortcuts, and stopping at pit stops, because if you run out, you're gonna have a bad time. By collecting rings, you level up, which increases your stats and air tank capacity. But as long as you're not being dumb and boosting all the time, running out of air will rarely happen. There are a bit more mechanics like jumping right at the edge of a ramp to perform more tricks or to get to a shortcut, or creating tornadoes to stop racers from passing or attacking you. The more I played this game, the more I realized that there's a lot going on gameplay wise, and here is the big issue Little Ritsu missed when he played this game in the past. This game does a poor job at explaining any of the mechanics to the players. This can be a problem, especially since kart racers are supposed to be party games. Party games need to be simple enough to pick up and go for new players, but Sonic Riders is anything but. Sure, there's a tutorial video for the game, but it's hidden away in the extras menu. I didn't know it existed until I started writing the script for this video, and even if someone does stumble upon it, the video doesn't even explain all of the mechanics, leaving some out. So the tutorial is hidden away and has information that the player would probably never figure out on their own, or at least I didn't. For the life of me, I could never figure out how to grind as a speed type. I assumed that you just have to jump and land perfectly on the rail to grind, but apparently you have to press the jump button again when you're right on top of the rail. I would have never figured that out without the tutorial video, which I also didn't know about until a few days ago. Tornadoes are another thing that totally went over my head because none of the computers would use that mechanic. I didn't even know it was a thing you could do until watching the tutorial. It's an extremely useful tool when racing, yet it is unintentionally hidden from the player. There are a few other game mechanics that would be almost impossible for a player to figure out on their own unless they were super observant, which I'm not, and this is a huge issue I have with the game. If you're more interested about this, I highly recommend checking out Liam Triforce's video on this problem. I will link the video in the description, or you can click the top right corner of this video to watch it. He does an excellent job of explaining the steep learning curve this game has and why, plus his videos are better than mine. Also, can we talk about the Babylon Garden race? Like, why does this track exist? About halfway through the story, you have to do what I would call the hardest race in the game. I vividly remember this race being so frustrating for me as a kid. Like, after hours of trying to beat this level, I would have a breakdown and start crying. It happened so often that my mother would have to take away my GameCube for a while so she wouldn't have to hear me sobbing. In hindsight, it's so funny to me how easily I got worked up over a video game, but at least I now understand exactly what makes this track so difficult for me. Unlike all the other tracks in the game, Babylon Garden takes away the rails on all the sharp turns. Due to me being complete garbage at games that require skill, I usually fuck up all the turns and fly off the stage. In this race, falling off just once is enough for you to have no hope of catching up. Well, I mean, if you're decent at video games, I guess one fall wouldn't do too much. This race also made me fear this noise. Though the failed sound haunts my dreams, I must say that the theme for the track is pretty neat. The high tempo with the kick hitting on every beat just makes me want to wiggle my body. Wait, is that a kick? Is that what that's called? I don't know music, but it's not just this track that makes me want to get up and dance. The music for every track is pretty well done, and don't even get me started on the greatness that is the song from the animated opening. That shit slaps. Even though Sonic games can be hit or miss for most people, I think we can all agree that their soundtracks are pretty consistent in quality, and Sonic Riders is no exception. I wish I knew more about music theory and composition so I can talk more about the OST. There are a lot of game modes other than free race and story. For the most part, they suck, but I'll talk about them anyway. There's a battle mode where you ride around in circles and attack peeps. You can pick up items that aren't present in any other game mode that either increase your attack, defense, or air tank capacity. It sounds cool, but I can assure you that it's pretty boring and that matches go on for way too long. There's another game mode where you have to hold on to a Chaos Emerald and go through rings to earn points, but other players can steal the emerald from you. This one's a little more fun, but I still suck at the game, so I couldn't even get 2 points. Team Race is my favorite game mode. You and another player share the same air tank, which is a neat idea. You have to go fast enough to pass the other team, but not too fast or else your connection with your partner will drop, and that's no bueno. You also have to refrain from being an asshole who wastes air all the time, because that would be unfair to your partner. It's definitely something that would be fun to play with real people instead of the computer, but sadly I don't have any friends. Yep, that's about it for the other game modes. I am 100% sure I'm not forgetting one, especially one that you unlock after completing the story that consists of replaying the same segments from tracks over and over again with different gimmicks, and for some reason is the only way to unlock characters from other Sega franchises. Yeah, I'm not forgetting about anything. All in all, this game is not as great as I remember it to be, but it's still extremely fun to play once you get the hang of it. I no longer think it's my favorite kart racer. After revisiting Sonic Riders, I'm pretty sure Crash Team Racing slid ahead of it on my kart racing tier list. Okay, I lied. I don't really have a kart racing tier list, but if I did, Crash Team Racing would be above Sonic Riders. Though it does have its flaws, the game itself is pretty great once you learn how to play. There were also not one, but 2 sequels. From what I've played of the first sequel, Zero Gravity, it's not something I care for that much. It seems like the same game with the new gravity mechanics, but the original game already had too much going on in it to be adding any other mechanics into the mix. If anything, it just confuses me. And then there was the abomination that is Free Riders for the Kinect. I remember getting this game as a kid and not even being able to make it past the tutorial stage because everything was broken. I never touched that game again. So if you ever want to get into Sonic Riders, I would totally just stick with the first game. Or maybe try the second game if you really enjoyed the first, and stay away from Free Riders, or any Kinect game really. Yep, that's it for this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you later.